Hey, welcome back to the channel. I'm Felicia Long. I'm a licensed realtor in Tennessee and Kentucky, and I get asked a lot of questions every single week about where do I want to live? I do this, I've retired from this, is this the right place for me? So stick with me. We're going to talk about some future plans of Nashville. We're going to talk about some that have already been implemented. If you're interested in that 15-minute walkable city plan, and do we have it in other areas of the city than just right downtown, you're going to want to watch this video. Have you ever wondered what a 15-minute city is, or what that concept is? Well, what these neighborhoods that we're going to talk about on this video have in common, even though they're not 15 minutes, they are designed to be very similar concepts for Nashville's next plan. They're walkable amenities. You can get to the groceries, the cafes, the parks, schools, and jobs. They have mixed-use land. You'll have residential, retail, and office space. You have higher density zoning and zoning reforms pulling development inward. You have transit service upgrades that are there, and you can get on under the Choose How You Move and see what that's like in Nashville, and you can look at Nashville Next too. And then you have strong public realm investments. You have the sidewalks, you have the bikeways, the streetscaping, those parks and green spaces. That's really cool, and that's what this 15-minute concept is all about. So if you've ever wondered about it, let's get on this video. Stay with me and we'll talk all about it. So, if you aren't already liking or subscribing to the channel, please feel free to do so. Click on the links below, talk to my favorite lender. There's a lot of information that you may want to know before you go forward. Feel free to leave your comments down below, because I'm always answering those, looking for those. I want to talk to you one-on-one as well. I'm Felicia Long. I have been doing this for 22 years. I'm licensed in 2 states, Kentucky and Tennessee. And one of the things that we talk about every single week is what Nashville's like, what the surrounding areas of Nashville's like, real estate in Nashville, because that's what I do. So on this particular video, we're going to talk about the 15-minute city concept. Is that implemented in Nashville? What are we doing in Nashville to make that happen? What are the expectations? What are the predictions? And we're going to talk all about that. Okay, so do we have a 15-minute city plan? Well, the short answer is no, that Nashville has not published a single labeled 15-minute city kind of layer, okay? But the city's interactive transit and planning maps show the specific sidewalks, the bike lanes, the transit corridors, the community plans to create 15-minute city-like conditions. And so use those interactive maps. We're going to put a link down below, and we can show you some of that as we're talking about how you move. Choose How You Move in Nashville, that Nashville Next planning resource. It can be viewed about your planned sidewalks, bus routes, transit centers, and community plan changes that make the neighborhoods function within that 15-minute foot, bike, and transit situation. And we have got some great things that are going on in Nashville. We have definitely made some great strides. I mean, we talked about the Gulch. The Gulch, for heaven's sakes, was, an area of Nashville we kept the trains and the train yards. And speaking of yards, we've got Nashville Yards. Well, that's just kind of a continuation of that. The Gulch has been established for a decade now or more, and it's absolutely a great area in which to live, but they're building off of that, and they've got Nashville Yards. And in Nashville Yards, you've got hotels, mixed use, commercial, residential space, as well as green spaces and wonderful plans for the city. Plus, they're already implemented. So wonderful thing of growth and urban sprawl that mixes in green spaces and a wonderful, attractive element for not just tourism, but locals and business. So definitely something to look out for and something to be a part of now in Nashville. Is that a 15-minute city per se? No, but it is certainly designed to be all-inclusive for a whole lot of things. So we're going to talk more about things like that. Now, I do want to mention that we do have those city maps, and you will want to open that interactive city map when you're looking at things, and you choose how you move, and you'll have the transit site, interactive viewer, and sidewalks, bike corridors, things like that. So we definitely want you to get on and get to use some of this. But let's talk further about other areas in that 15-minute thought process plan for Nashville. The Metro Development Tracker, which is a parcel viewer and a community plan PDF, which shows which parcels and neighborhoods are being rezoned and targeted for all sorts of things. This will help you. It's very useful for your real estate decisions that are being planned about walkability, mixed use density, where that will incur. There's lots of different neighborhood projects, and I think it's really cool that we've offered that to you on these maps. There are neighborhood level projects for sidewalks, bike lanes, signal upgrades, which I think can be very important too. Rather than one single 15-minute map, it helps you to evaluate the property's 15-minute potential. Look at the walking and biking infrastructure, the transit frequency, nearby services like your groceries, your schools, your clinics, your parks. So I think that's pretty cool too. So when we get back to neighborhoods, we're gonna list some of those and some corridors. We've talked about that before, like the West End corridor and what it's like. There isn't really a publicly labeled 15-minute city idea or master plan for Nashville in those exact terms. But I hear it referenced so much, I thought we would touch on it. But many of the city's long-range planning efforts very much align with that 15-minute city philosophy. It's walkable, it's got mixed-use centers, it's got transit-oriented development that's going on, denser housing around key corridors. For example, we have a plan or emerging plan for around 2026 that could support that 15-minute type of real estate opportunities, plus key neighborhoods or corridors to watch. So we're going to talk about all those on this video. You've got something called Nashville Next, and that has the city's long-range comprehensive plan. Very good thing to check out. It emphasizes creating walkable centers with jobs, housing, services, and increasing the density along the transit corridors. You have the long-range planning department uses of Nashville Next to guide decisions about where to grow versus where to preserve. And then there's a growth and preservation concept map that defines where more intense areas of urban development is anticipated. So this could be a really cool thing to go to, and I think you should check it out. It's called Nashville Next. Then you have your community plans. Nashville's divided into 14 community plan areas, okay? So we're gonna get into those. For example, East Nashville, Downtown, West Nash, North, etc. So these plans help define which neighborhoods should become centers, corridors, or more conserved residential areas. So the Community Character Manual, which is a CCM, is used to guide what types of building forms, scale, and neighborhood character are appropriate for that area. In downtown, East Bank redevelopment, the downtown community plan defines how downtown will grow, including through that mixed use and denser development. There's a specific Imagine the East Bank vision for 338 acres on the East Bank of the Cumberland. And that's where the Titan Stadium is. That's where some really well-defined mixed use walkability designed to stay in that area if you want. Plans are, and it's happening right now as we speak. So if you drive by, you see it. It's wonderful. It's very exciting, and it's nice to know that it is being done. Because in that area, you have not only residential, office, parks, and public improvements. So I think that's just a wonderful understanding of the development of the East Bank. You also have a major zoning update for 2025 Downtown Code Amendment, which modifies the height incentives, the outdoor spaces. Which that definitely makes a more dense development for downtown, but it really accentuates its beauty and the implementation of those green spaces and that walkability, that whole all things Nashville thing. Of course, on that transit and mobility, Choose How You Move, in November 2024, Nashville passed that transit improvement referendum, and it was called Choose How You Move. And that program includes 54 miles of all-access corridors with high-capacity transit, and in some places, buses every 15 minutes. So if you come from a community where you definitely had multiple major transit centers and options, then this could be very, very appealing to you. And they're also talking about major new sidewalks and smarter traffic signals and that type of thing, bus stops. Just to give you an idea, the Planning Commission definitely approved new zoning categories. So we have residential neighborhoods. We've got residential limited to allow more middle housing. Those would be your townhomes, your cottage courts, flex homes. I think that's a really cool understanding. That was in places that were predominantly just single family, where you definitely were limited on other options within those areas. So this is wonderful. That's part part of creating a more walkable neighborhood with a variety of housing types. So that allows for more people with different income levels to live in these areas, possibly, and certainly broaden the horizons of the demographic in the area. In some zoning staff reports, they mention the mixed-use limited alternative, which could be something too, which is office residential. So that also is intended to promote that walkable mixed-use lifestyle. So let's talk about those areas. We've defined a whole lot about it. Let's get into the meat about this, okay? There are some areas in Nashville that are definitely likely to see that real estate, that residential and mixed-use opportunity that's going to create that 15-minute walkable dense model without being that, okay? One of them is that East Bank. That Cumberland River corridor is absolutely being defined right now. It's one of the biggest planned areas, and I just discussed that was 338 acres. So a very impressive economic decision for that area. East Bank, Cumberland River corridor. So then you have your downtown central business district. Now, downtown code changes and incentive structures happened, and that has allowed for more residential condos, apartments that will likely come after that. That's a dense, walkable core, and it's very much in line with the complete neighborhood design and idea. Now you have the urban corridors along all the access transit. So let's discuss that. Those corridors are like Murfreesboro Pike, Gallatin Pike, Nolensville Pike, Dickerson Road, West End, Charlotte Pike, Bordeaux-Clarksville Pike. Those are explicitly mentioned in the Choose How You Move plan. These corridors are prime for transit-oriented development, which is called TOD, and your mixed use and infill housing, exactly what you want in that 15-minute city. You definitely have some existing neighborhood centers. Those are T4 zones, and they're, according to the zoning staffs, T4 urban neighborhood centers are prime for transit-oriented development. Okay, they are meant to be within a 5-minute walk of the urban streets, the mixed use, and the higher connectivity. So absolutely that thought concept between that 15-minute city, the whole idea behind making it more sustainable independently if you didn't have to have a car down there or parking, or if you just like to get out and walk your area. That's what this is designed for. Healthier lifestyles, less stress, not having to be in the soup. I call traffic the soup. I'm getting in the soup just to get out. So I'm in it every day. I drive a couple hundred miles a day typically. So, I'm in it. But what a relief, and what a neat, beautiful thought process plan that is actually implemented right now. Those T4 centers are likely to densify and be actively targeted for walkable development. You have, in some community plans, transitional neighborhoods. Now, those are transitional zones, like between the high density corridors and the lower density residential, where middle housing can be introduced under that new zoning. What's that going to introduce? It's going to watch for your cottage courts, your townhomes, and your other missing middle housing. So you have some risks and challenges and considerations. Anytime you have growth, you always do. So we're going to talk about some of that too. One of those things is, while zoning reforms are underway, rezoning still has to happen in some of this. So not all walkable redevelopment is guaranteed. Infrastructure funding for sidewalks and transit, large scale stuff is still, possibly could lag, and it could slow down that outcome. But let me talk about some areas right now, like, in the West End corridor, a concept out there is Voce hotels and residences. That's a wonderful place. Definitely get with me if you want to look and talk about that more in depth. But that whole design is to keep, you'll have your mixed use ideas. You'll have, hotel, you'll have residences, wonderful opportunity. And it's right in that West End corridor, closer to that Gulch and downtown area, but wonderful idea. I just touched on the Nashville Yards. I touched on the Gulch. All of these concepts are being implemented right now too. So definitely the growth is there. The idea is to have, tourism, but to also have local residences as well. And then to have your businesses come in and say, Amazon is going into the Nashville Yards, period. Corporate offices is great. We've got the whole design for that northern corridor along Trinity Lane for Oracle to come in. We've got wonderful redevelopment designs like we talked about down at that East Bank corridor that's happening right now too. So wonderful things to look forward to. All of this, you know, I touched on retirees, I touched on, you know, young adults, people of all ages coming from a very urban environment now, wanting that same thing, but maybe they want better weather. Maybe they just want to be in Tennessee. Maybe their business has brought them here, where this could be incredibly appealing. The top 12 new development 15 minutes concept ideas. Here they are. East Bank, River North, and Stadium District, McFerrin Triangle, okay? Nashville's largest planned redevelopment zone. It's 338 acres, mixed use, walkable streets, new riverfront parks, and residential density. It is designed to be absolutely self-sufficient and beautiful. The new Titan Stadium is going in there, and that absolutely is going to have infrastructure accelerated timelines. This is a planned thing that's happening right now. It is absolutely beautiful. And I encourage you to get down there and see this. If that's where you want to be, the prospects for how wonderful this will be are tremendous. Number 2, Gulch East, okay? That's where we were talking about. It's already established. It's already walkable. Densification continues though. The new transit and pedestrian improvements going in there, the retail, dining, and residential, all within compact footprint, help align itself with all those concepts of that 15-minute city. It has high-end multifamily and boutique hotels, mixed use, and micro units. Number 3, a really good area to consider is Wedgwood, Houston, one of Nashville's hottest design and arts innovation districts, industrial to residential, adaptive reuse, easy access to downtown, and future transit corridors. The opportunities there for condo and multifamily development, creative office, maker spaces, mixed use. I mean, this is a great area to consider when you're coming into town. Could this be your next place? Wedgwood, Houston, good little area for us to focus on. You've heard me talk about Midtown, Vanderbilt, Music Row Edge. That is an area, a corridor that they've defined all together. In major medical and university anchor employment, obviously a great decision. Existing density already. New zoning and flexibility options are coming in. It's walkable amenities are right there. You definitely have opportunities in student-oriented housing, mid-rise apartments, grad students, professionals, doctors, attorneys, all sorts of business professionals in that area currently. You have your mid-rise apartments and your medical adjacent rental as well. Definitely something to think about. You know how I feel about that Midtown Vanderbilt area. I've discussed that on other videos. Certainly a great opportunity. And that's where I just mentioned that Voce is as well. So something to think about. To call me about that, I'd love to take you through and show you what they're offering. North Capitol, Sulphurdale, Germantown Edge. That growth from downtown pushing northward is exactly kind of what I was talking about just a minute ago. New sidewalks, bike lanes, and transit corridor improvements close to the farmers market and future mobility hubs. That's a good opportunity for multifamily, townhouse infill, mixed-use corridors. My great-grandfather used to own the baseball team. It's a different great-grandfather that I talked about, but he would be glad to see this absolutely happening and development going to this level. When you talk about the Germantown core, you're talking about one of the most walkable neighborhoods in Nashville. Strong restaurant and a retail scene. You definitely have a high demand for missing and middle housing, so you have opportunities there for your townhomes, your boutiques, your multifamily, your small scale, and your mixed use. We definitely have the Dickerson Pike corridor, and that is designated transit corridor under Choose How You Move. You have large amounts of underutilized land for infill. You have rapid changes similar to how the Gallatin Pike changed 10 years ago, and you have transit-oriented development going on there, BTR communities, and mixed use. So you definitely have some things going on there. If you're an investor and you have a lot of money, I'd love to suggest that we go in there and look at some opportunity there for you if you can afford to hold on to your property as that is getting developed. Next, something to think about. Number 8 is Gallatin Pike South. That's Eastwood Village, 5 Points, Cleveland Park. You're back into that East Nashville situation. Your biggest concentration of East Nashville redevelopment. You have strong local character, a new middle housing zoning flexibility, and you have walkable retail nodes already existing in that East Nashville development. You've got a great opportunity for your townhomes, your college courts, your duplex and quadplex, and your infill mixed use. So, hey, if you want to find a great place to live where you could get in and you have walkability, and we haven't talked about East Nashville much, but with a whole lot of other development going on around it, that could maybe be the perfect place for you. Donaldson, near the transit hub. We've talked about that on other videos, how Donaldson's major plan has been implemented since 2024 in the referendum. So it was one of the city's first transit center plan referendums. It's near the airport. They want it to be walkable, village center model coming, and it'll be an affordable and mid-market multifamily TOD zoning likely. So you've got some things going on there. Hey, you've got to fly in and out of Nashville a lot. You might consider that as an opportunity for you, might really like that area. So you also have, as number 10, Charlotte Pike Corridor, Sylvan Park and the Nations and CLT West. So coming in at number 10, Charlotte Corridor is designed for that dense mixed-use redevelopment. The Nations is booming, and it has been going for over a decade with new residential and retail. West Nashville's urban village growth continues there, and townhomes, walkable mixed use, mid-rise, multifamily, is getting injected into that area. Certainly a great place for you to consider if you want to live just a little bit outside of all that hustle and bustle and that major mixed use lifestyle downtown or the Gulch or the Nashville Yards. So bro, you definitely might consider the Nations. You're in and out of there quickly. You might consider that Wedgwood, Houston, that 12 South, that Midtown Vanderbilt thing I just talked about. But you definitely have a lot going on in the Nations as well, as far as up and coming, more affordability. Could I put you there and you have a lot of fun, have a lesser price home? Yes, but it is still booming. So we need to get on our one-on-one call and talk about that. Now, number 11 and 12, let's touch on those. Number 11, Nolensville Pike North, which is Wedgwood, the Fairgrounds, and Berry Hill Edge, okay? That is a high-capacity transit corridor coming, and that's what new stadium events and districts nearby. You're close to your soccer, your large commercial lots are ready for redevelopment. Urban apartments and mixed use and retail repositioning are going into that area. That Wedgwood, above Wedgwood, Houston, that Wedgwood Fairgrounds, Berry Hill is what we're talking about. That is a planned area. It is number 11 on the top 12 that we talked about. And this last one is interesting because it's very, very suburban, not urban. And it's Bellevue Center, which has been for a long-term redevelopment project out there. And Bellevue Center definitely kind of takes it to the suburbs, gives some access, still wants the mixed-use walkability. It's already got those designs in place and lots of favorable real estate out there for people who are looking for that. Maybe you don't want just that single-family home. Maybe that condo, that cottage court, that whole theoretic design is actually being implemented right now in the Bellevue area, and we've talked about that on other videos. That is one of the few suburban areas planned as a regional center in the Nashville Next area, with its increased walkability, densification around that mall area. So definitely want to talk about that. Now, there's other places in Williamson County, we've touched on that. June Lake, which is kind of Spring Hill, Thompson Station, designed to be a kind of that 15-minute concept as well. Definitely some great places to talk about. Now, I know this is a lot of information. I know it's a little different. I realize that we definitely want to get on a one-on-one call and talk to each other about what's important to you, because if walking down to the hospital is important to you, if walking to the mall is important to you, those might be two very different places for me to put you. And we definitely want to talk about that. Hey, you want to have fun, you want to go out every Friday night, you never want to get in your car, you want to Uber next to that concert, you might want to get down to that game. That's a whole different concept and a whole different conversation as well. We need to talk one-on-one. I want your business. I've been doing this 22 years and I'm grateful for your business. We have to do it one-on-one. But thank you so much for watching. We want to talk about some of these 15-minute city concepts. Does it work for you if you are a young adult? Does it work for you if you're a retiree? And I know I just kind of touched on that a little bit. I'm at the age where a comedian said that, we're like freshman old people. Well, here's the deal. It depends on what kind of retiree you are. Do you need to live in a 55 and up community because you like those community planned events and it's all for people 55 and older? that's a different conversation. But if you lived in New York or you lived in New Jersey, I have a friend that just absolutely will not leave the urban area, and she's in my age group. I mean, our kids are grown, and she wants to walk around in the designated green spaces that are built for her there. She doesn't want to have a yard. She wants to be in that nightlife. I shout out to my friend Arlene. I've got to say that she is somebody that wouldn't venture further than Wedgwood, Houston, or 12 South if she were to get out of the city, and she's still basically in the city. So something to talk about. Until we talk, leave your questions down below. I'd love to answer those. Thank you so much. Like and subscribe to the channel, and we'll see you next week.